Hello and welcome back to another video from Dermasteria. This time I'm going to show you the creation of the Dermastarium that will host multiple species of dermestid beetles. I must admit that I was pretty excited for the terrarium to arrive. I had prepared myself to create a nice habitat for the beetles that would hopefully give them room to display their natural behavior. First, I added some bioactive substrate. It consists of a mixture of organic matter, great for live planted enclosures. I placed a bigger piece of driftwood in the enclosure as well. Full-grown larvae want to bore themselves into certain materials to feel safe when they pupate. The most commonly used material for this purpose is styrofoam. It's very easy to take styrofoam apart and to replace it once it has more holes than Swiss cheese. However, it ain't that natural. They are able to bore themselves into wood, so that's the purpose of the driftwood. I also added some nice stones and then started with the live plants. I chose 3 species that are able to thrive in arid environments. I suspect that when I water them, the beetles will make use of the droplets to go for a drink. A piece of cork bark will be their dinner plate. In nature, the beetles will lay eggs in safe spots near their food source. This might be the hardened skin on the carcass, for example. I noticed this behavior too with pieces of cardboard. It might show similarities to dry skin, so perhaps they might start laying eggs in the small cracks of the bark as well. I also placed some cocos fiber to simulate hairs of a carcass. Last but not least, I placed some real fox bones in the enclosure. They were beetle cleaned and no additional chemicals were used, so they are totally natural and safe for the beetles. A so-called dummy skull is recommended in dermestid beetle enclosures, since the beetles tend to lay their eggs in them as well. I will add the springtails that are supposed to eat the frass, or the beetle poop, after the introduction of the beetles. Speaking about beetles, I chose to introduce fall species first. I selected 5 adult Dermestis maculatus, 5 adult Dermestis undulatus, 5 larvae of Dermestis lardarius, and 5 larvae of Dermestis murinus. Fall species that are nice to look at and pretty distinguishable as adults as well as larvae, except for the larvae of Dermestis undulatus and murinus. In the future, I might add more species, but this is a good start. I decided to start with a small number of the species so they don't get overcrowded too soon. There's always the possibility to add more individuals of a certain species. From now on, I'm going to address the species by their species name only and drop the genus name Dermestis. Otherwise, you'd want to start a drinking game whenever I say Dermestis. As you can see, I mixed the 4 species before releasing them into their new enclosure. The larvae of Lardarius and the adults of Undulatus were gone pretty quick, hiding underneath the bark. The larvae of Murinus, on the other hand, stayed on top of the bark, while the adult Maculatus started to climb the cocos fibers. After the climbing session, Maculatus was the most adventurous and the first to discover the fox skull. They decided pretty quick that the inside of the nasal area serves as a great new house. What surprised me is that after a little time, the beetles appear to have divided themselves again into groups of species. Maculatus had gathered themselves on top of the driftwood, and the Murinus larvae were still walking around on top of the bark. And as you can see, I put a slice of sausage on top of their dinner plate as well. I finally spotted an Undulatus discovering her new habitat. I misted the plants with some water. The beetles may go for a drink now if they want. Yum! Murinus finally started to explore beyond the bark as well. as one larva is now checking out the cool holes in the driftwood. Eventually, I started to see Ladarias again as well, drinking from some moist on the bark. The day came to an end, and the Maculatus beetle chose a great spot on the driftwood to take a good look of his new kingdom. And a new day has arrived. Maculatus still seems astonished that all what the light touches are theirs, appreciating the view from the driftwood again. The nasal captivity of the foxgull houses 2 Maculatus beetles. The foxgull is definitely chosen as their palace in this new kingdom, and these kings are definitely the most present species in the enclosure for now. As for the springtails, they are the last addition to the Dermasterium. Hopefully their presence helps in creating a partially self-sustaining environment. Be sure to watch the next video to see how it all unfolds. Bye bye!